So I'm here with Brad Harrington, Head Strength and Conditioning Coach at the Scarlets. Before, you were Assistant Strength and Conditioning Coach at the Waratahs and then with Leinster. And I think then did some work with Ireland in the run-up to the World Cup as well.
Yeah, before. 2007 did a little bit of work with the Irish boys before they went off to the World Cup. Must have been very good though, because they didn't have a very good World Cup. So.
You're with this in your second season now at the Scarlets. What was your brief really when you came in?
Well, it was interesting really, because we had a new coaching team Nigel put together and a new strength and conditioning team. So basically our brief when we first came in, they highlighted some weaknesses in strength, power and sort of hypertrophy area. So they wanted to get the boys a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger and a bit more powerful, especially the forwards. So basically the first 18 months was taken up of, well not taken up, but the focus was those areas. So that's sort of where we are now. We've got to a level now where we're happy with our levels in those areas and we can compete in those areas now. So it's now time to sort of reassess where we're going and focus on a couple of different areas really.
And is the role very different from say when you were with Leinster now to being here?
Yeah, it is very different. It's different at every club I go to because there's a different group of players, different coaches, there's different goals and targets. For instance, at Leinster we had a very experienced squad full of internationals. So it was a matter of tapering the program to meet their need.
And so obviously there is quite a different approach then with a predominantly young squad. What kind of differences are there in how you approach the kind of the fitness side?
With the young guys, it's a balance of them being able to manage actually playing the game every week. They haven't been training as long as some of the other guys. Generally in the gym they're not too bad, they've got good technique, their fitness levels are okay. We still have to improve those, but the biggest thing with the young guys is the experience of playing week to week and how they come out of those intense games. A lot of the guys have never played Europe before, have never played a full season of Magnus League, so it just means that there's huge challenges there with the young squad in terms of able to manage their weekly training load and then recovering from a game.
And in terms of how things have changed over the last 10 years, obviously in the modern era, a huge focus on your side of the business really, and getting players fit and strong and conditioned well for each game. And as you said, an intense season as well. Yeah. How's it changed over the last decade?
I think I first started in professional strength and conditioning around 2000 in rugby league, and I know around that time over here the game had just gone professional in '98. I think around that time in rugby in Wales, the regions have just it's gone into regional rugby at a similar time. So it was really the start of professional rugby in that time. So I think in the first 6 or 7 years from '98 and on, there was a huge focus on strength and power and conditioning. So the guys, I mean, you would have seen yourself the body shapes of rugby players changing from smaller type guys to huge. Now they're huge athletes. Now they're big, they're strong, they're powerful. Most of the forwards can run and they're a lot more athletic than the old-fashioned forwards. The demands have changed massively. So where we are now, I think that it's almost like how much stronger can some players get. We've got guys, some young guys in the gym now just lifting huge amounts of weights, and it's about how much more do they need to lift for rugby. At the end of the day, they're not weightlifters. We need to get them to a certain level, and then we need to look at focusing on areas that are going to improve their performance.
And it's such a major science and such a massive part, particularly the intensity of games that come throughout the season. We're about two-thirds of the way through the season, 20 games.
Yeah.
I mean, where are the margins in sport now? Because obviously all the top clubs, they have people like you, they have big teams that are working on strength and conditioning. Where are the margins in terms of how you get players ready for those big performances?
I think there's very small margins, and I think you're right, it is a big science, and that's why we've got to start looking at people like we've brought in a sports science specialist this year, Reece Jones, who's doing a PhD for us. So he's just basically focusing on the science, and then there's like the art of coaching as well, which I'd probably have a lot of experience on actually hands-on coaching. There's a huge focus on preparation now and making sure we get that preparation right, and that's talking about what's changed in the last 10 years in strength and conditioning, I think our focus now is going to be more on recovery, preparation and the monitoring through things like technology, like heart rate monitors, GPS systems. You hear about all this stuff now, and that helps us monitor what we do during the week and hopefully come up with some sort of system that we can predict performance, which is hard when you've got a team sport. You've got 22 individuals having to perform all on the one day. I think we've played 22 games this year, and the only game I can remember we didn't turn up was Ulster for whatever reason, but every other game I don't think anyone could question the commitment, the passion, the effort of the Scarlets in the actual competition. And I think with our young guys too, we've got a young squad. Like every time we go somewhere, it's a different challenge for them. It's not like you've got an older squad like I was involved at Leinster. Sometimes it's hard to get the boys up for games because they've sort of been there before and they're expected to do stuff. It's different here, so that helps. As well, I mean,
there's a lot said about the amount of injuries in the sport now and the amount, obviously, the intensity of the games and the young players coming through, sort of 17, 18-year-olds. We've got a 19-year-old scrum half who performed pretty well the other weekend. How do you sort of balance the pushing them forward to get to that peak performance and not pushing them too far, that they're not going to have any longevity in their careers? Is that an issue?
Well, I think it's hard, and in Australia, it's definitely changed the age of retirement. Like guys are coming into first team football now at 17, 18 years of age, and after 10 or 12 years of playing in this intensity, their bodies just can't handle anymore. So you've got guys retiring at 28, 29, 30 years of age. So it's changed a lot, and we do have a very young squad. So it's hard to manage. We just don't know. We've got guys like, you mentioned Tavis, Andy Femby, Reece Priestland, Dan Newton's just coming into the squad now. In the forwards we've got Rob, Josh, Lou and Dom, Kenny, all these guys, even Phil John to a certain extent is playing a lot of rugby at this level now, which they haven't had to before. So we've got to work out how that affects them and then how we can manage the training week so that they're ready to go again, because it does take a lot out of them playing at this level, because they haven't been able to do it week in, week out. Well, they've never had to do it week in, week out. So their bodies are getting used to that as well, as much as all the sort of load that we're putting through them in terms of training. So that is the key with this squad, is just trying to manage the recovery from performance side of things, and that again, that's why we've brought in someone like Reece who's doing a PhD on the effects of that.
And obviously there's quite a big team working with you behind the scenes, but you're not looking to expand that now as well for next season. There's an opportunity for an internship here. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, every year since I've been here we've had interns, so it's basically a position for a guy or a girl who's either in a year out or finished their sports science degree or a degree in that area and is looking to get into strength and conditioning. So, as you said, we've got a big team here. We've got Ryan Campbell, who's working on the strength and conditioning side of things, Reece Janes, who's our sports science PhD student, we've got Avion Roberts, who's the Academy S&C, myself. And within our strength and conditioning, it's also looking at athletic performance. So we've also got in that area, we've got the physios, we've got 2 physios, and we've got 2 or 3 doctors as well. So looking at the holistic approach, there's quite a big team there that that has to do a lot of work to get the boys out on the field. So for someone to be in school or just finish school to come in and work in that environment, it's an invaluable experience. It's a year where they work with us full time,
right? Okay.
And they assist in every sort of area of the athletic performance in terms of those areas I've just mentioned. And it's a great opportunity for someone who's at university or just finished university to come and work in a professional environment.
And presumably invaluable experience actually learning, with a team in an elite environment like this. What better experience can you possibly get?
I think I mentioned earlier, I learned so much, especially in my 3-year internship. I was lucky enough to work with some very experienced conditioners, and I learned heaps about how to manage players, how to implement everything I'd learned at university. So that's what the internship is invaluable for someone who hasn't got that experience to come in and work hands-on in a professional environment.
Okay. Well, lovely to chat to you, Brad. Thanks very much for telling us a little bit more about it. And
Thank you.
Hopefully you'll hear from a lot of people for that position.
Yep, thanks.
Okay, cheers. Thank you.